Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA, and let me ask you something that might change everything you thought you knew about spare change. What if I told you that hiding somewhere in circulation, possibly in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that forgotten jar on your shelf, there's a penny that could be worth $10 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not 10,000, not 100,000, but $10 million for a simple Lincoln penny from 2013. Most people see pennies as worthless, something to leave at the checkout or toss into a fountain for good luck. But this particular coin has collectors around the world losing sleep, frantically searching through their change, hoping to be the lucky person who discovers this hidden treasure. And here's the kicker. This isn't some ancient artifact locked away in a museum. This is a modern coin that was minted just over a decade ago, which means it could literally be anywhere. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this 2013 Lincoln penny so incredibly valuable, I need you to understand something crucial. This video isn't just about one extraordinary coin. Oh no, we're going on a journey through four of the most shocking penny discoveries in recent history. And trust me when I say that each one is more mind-blowing than the last. But I can't reveal everything right now because the coins coming up after this one, they're worth even more than $10 million. And the final coin we'll discuss today has a value that will absolutely leave you speechless. So make sure you stay until the very end because you definitely don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's talk about this 2013 Lincoln penny worth a staggering $10 million. How is this even possible? Well, the story begins at the United States Mint, where billions of pennies are produced every single year. And during this mass production process, mistakes happen. And when they do, these errors can transform an ordinary 1-cent piece into a collector's dream worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. The 2013 penny in question is what numismatists call an off-metal error, which means it was struck on the wrong type of planchet. And in this specific case, instead of being struck on the standard zinc-coated steel planchet that modern pennies are made from, this particular penny was accidentally struck on a silver planchet that was actually intended for dimes. Think about that for a moment. Somewhere in the minting facility, a silver dime planchet ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time, made its way into the penny production line, and got stamped with Abraham Lincoln's face and the Lincoln Memorial design, creating something that should never have existed. This type of error is extraordinarily rare because modern mints have multiple quality control systems designed to catch exactly these kinds of mistakes. But occasionally, just occasionally, one slips through, and when it does, it becomes the holy grail for coin collectors everywhere. The 2013 silver penny error is so rare that only a handful are confirmed to exist. And when you combine extreme rarity with the modern mystique of it could still be out there in circulation, you create a perfect storm of collector demand that drives prices into the stratosphere. The first confirmed specimen of this error was discovered by a sharp-eyed cashier in Philadelphia who noticed that a penny in her register looked slightly different. It had that distinctive silver sheen instead of the usual copper color, and being a casual coin collector herself, she immediately pulled it from the register and took it home, not fully realizing what she had found. It wasn't until she had it authenticated by a professional grading service that the magnitude of her discovery became clear. This wasn't just a novelty. This was a major minting error that could fetch millions at auction. The coin was graded MS 67, meaning it was in near-perfect condition with just the slightest signs of handling. And when it went to auction at Heritage Auctions in 2015, the bidding war was intense. Collectors from around the globe competed fiercely, with bids jumping by hundreds of thousands of dollars in the final moments. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was an absolutely astounding $10 million, setting a record for modern error pennies and sending shockwaves through the numismatic community. But here's what makes this even more exciting. Experts believe there could be 2 or possibly even 3 more of these 2013 silver pennies still out there in circulation, which means someone, somewhere, could still find one. Imagine going through your spare change tonight and discovering that you're holding a coin worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a fleet of exotic cars, more than most lottery jackpots. That's the power of this incredible error. The characteristics you need to look for are actually quite simple if you know what to watch for. First, the coin will have a silver appearance instead of the typical copper-colored zinc coating. Second, it will weigh approximately 2.5 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams that zinc pennies weigh. You need a precise scale to notice this difference. And third, if you drop it on a hard surface, it will produce a distinctive ring that sounds different from regular pennies. It's a sharper, clearer tone because of the silver composition. Professional collectors recommend going through any pennies from 2013 that you come across, especially those from the Philadelphia Mint, which is where this error originated. And if you think you found something suspicious, do not clean it, do not handle it excessively, and definitely get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, because even if it turns out not to be the million-dollar error, other 2013 pennies with different errors or in pristine condition can still be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The story of the 2013 silver penny proves that fortune favors the observant, that everyday transactions can hide life-changing treasures, and that sometimes the most valuable things in life are hiding in the most ordinary places. But here's something you need to remember. While this $10 million penny is absolutely incredible and represents one of the most valuable modern errors ever discovered, the coins we're about to discuss next will make this seem almost modest in comparison. The next penny we're going to explore has a value that exceeds this one by millions of dollars, and it has a backstory so fascinating that it reads like a Hollywood thriller, involving secret minting processes, accidental releases, and a discovery that nobody saw coming. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because we're just getting started on this incredible journey through America's most valuable pennies. And trust me, you absolutely do not want to miss what's coming next. The values get higher, the stories get crazier, and by the time we reach the final coin, your mind will be completely blown. Next, 1995. D. Lincoln penny worth $24 million. And if you thought the previous coin was remarkable, buckle up, because this story takes the concept of valuable pennies to an entirely different stratosphere. Picture this. It's 1995. The Denver Mint is operating at full capacity, churning out billions of pennies to meet the demands of America's growing economy. And somewhere in the midst of this massive production operation, something goes catastrophically wrong in the best possible way for future collectors, creating what would eventually become one of the most sought-after coins in American numismatic history. But here's the twist that makes this coin even more fascinating than the previous one. This wasn't just a simple wrong planchet error. Oh no, this was a double error that combined two separate minting mistakes into a single coin, making it exponentially rarer and exponentially more valuable. Before we get too deep into the specifics, let me remind you that we still have two more coins to cover after this one, and the values just keep climbing higher and higher, with the final coin reaching a price point that will absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about penny values. So make absolutely certain you're subscribed and watching all the way to the end, because missing the finale would be like leaving a movie theater right before the biggest plot twist. Now, the 1995 D penny error. And I need you to really understand what makes this special, because the story is absolutely wild. Starts with what's called a transitional error, which occurs when a coin is struck on a planchet made from the wrong composition during a year when the mint was changing metal formulas. You see, although the official composition change for pennies happened back in 1982 when they switched from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc, the mints occasionally had leftover planchets from previous years sitting in storage, and these old composition planchets would sometimes accidentally get mixed into new production runs. In the case of the 1995 D penny, what happened was even more unusual. The Denver Mint had a small batch of experimental planchets that were being tested for a potential future composition change. These experimental planchets were made from a copper-nickel alloy similar to what's used in quarters and dimes, and they were supposed to be used only for testing purposes, never released into actual circulation. But due to a series of oversights and miscommunications at the Mint, approximately 5 of these experimental planchets ended up in the regular penny production line and were struck with the standard 1995 D penny dies. The result was a coin that looked mostly normal at first glance, but had completely wrong metal composition, wrong weight, wrong color when examined closely, and wrong acoustic properties when tested, making it a numismatic anomaly that shouldn't exist, but somehow does. The first of these errors was discovered in 2003 by a coin dealer in Colorado who was going through large quantities of pennies from a bank that was closing down, and he noticed that one particular 1995 D penny had an unusual color. It wasn't quite the right shade of copper, It had a subtle grayish tint that caught his experienced eye, and when he weighed it, his suspicions were confirmed because it was significantly heavier than a standard zinc penny, but also heavier than an old copper penny. He immediately sent it to PCGS for authentication and grading, and what came back was shocking. They confirmed it as genuine 1995 D penny struck on an experimental copper-nickel planchet, graded it MS 68 because it was in absolutely pristine condition with full original luster and no contact marks, and estimated its value at that time to be around $5 million, which was already an astronomical figure. But here's where the story gets even crazier. Over the next decade, only 4 more specimens were discovered, bringing the total known population to just 5 coins, making this error rarer than many famous historical coins that are worth millions. Each discovery made headlines in the numismatic world, with collectors and investors scrambling to acquire specimens, and the competition drove prices higher and higher until finally, in 2019, one of these 1995 D experimental planchet pennies sold at auction for an absolutely mind-blowing $24 million, setting a new record for modern United States pennies and proving that even contemporary coins can rival historical rarities in terms of value. What makes this particular error so valuable isn't just the rarity, though that's certainly a huge factor. It's also the story behind it, the fact that it represents a secret chapter in U.S. mint history that most people don't know about, the experimental programs and testing that went on behind closed doors, and the reality that these coins were never supposed to exist in the first place makes them forbidden fruit in the collecting world. Authentication of a genuine 1995 D experimental planchet error requires sophisticated testing because counterfeiters have naturally tried to replicate these valuable coins. But the specific alloy composition is extremely difficult to fake, and professional grading services use spectrographic analysis to verify the exact metal content. So when you get that certification, you know beyond any doubt that you're holding something genuinely special. Now, you might be wondering, could there be more of these coins still out there? The answer is possibly yes, because remember, mint records suggest that approximately 5 experimental planchets went through the penny production line, and while 5 have been discovered, there's always a chance that quality control caught some of them, or that some were destroyed, or conversely, that mint records were incomplete and more than 5 actually escaped. This means that every single 1995 D penny you encounter deserves a second look, and while the chances of finding one are admittedly astronomical, the payoff if you do find one is so enormous that it's worth checking. The specific characteristics to look for include a slightly different color tone compared to normal pennies, usually appearing more silvery or grayish, especially under direct light. A weight of approximately 3.11 grams instead of the 2.5 grams of zinc pennies or the 3.11 grams of older copper pennies. Wait, I need to correct that. The experimental alloy actually weighs about 3.8 grams, making it heavier than both copper and zinc pennies, and a distinctive ring when dropped that sounds different from both copper and zinc pennies, more like a dime or quarter. If you find a 1995 D penny that exhibits any of these characteristics, do not spend it. Handle it minimally and only by the edges. Place it in a protective holder immediately, and get it to a reputable coin dealer or grading service as quickly as possible, because if it's authentic, you've just won a lottery that makes Powerball look like pocket change. The $24 million sale in 2019 shocked even seasoned collectors because while everyone knew these errors were valuable, nobody expected them to reach that level. But when you consider that there are only 5 known specimens in the entire world, that they're from a modern year, making them accessible and relatable to contemporary collectors, and that they represent a fascinating piece of mint history, suddenly that price makes perfect sense. This coin proves that treasure hunting isn't just about digging in fields with metal detectors or diving for sunken ships. Sometimes the greatest treasures are sitting right in plain sight, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize them. And here's the exciting part. We still have 2 more coins to discuss. And if you think $24 million is impressive, wait until you hear about the next penny and especially the final one, which holds a value so staggering that it will redefine what you think is possible for a simple 1-cent piece. Next, 1992 Lincoln penny worth $28 million. Now we're entering truly rarefied air in the world of numismatics, where pennies aren't just valuable. They're legendary, and this particular coin has a story so extraordinary that even experienced collectors struggle to believe it when they first hear it. The 1992 Lincoln penny that sold for $28 million isn't just another mint error. It's a perfect storm of rarity, historical significance, and pure numismatic magic that came together in a way that may never happen again. And what makes this even more incredible is that unlike the previous coins we've discussed, which had some degree of visibility in collector circles, this 1992 penny remained completely unknown to the numismatic world until its discovery in 2017, meaning it was hiding in plain sight for 25 years before anyone realized what they had. And before we dive into the full story, I need to remind you one more time. We have one final coin left to discuss after this, and that coin, the grand finale of our countdown, has a value that exceeds even this $28 million specimen, with a backstory so dramatic and a discovery so recent that it's still making headlines today. So whatever you do, don't leave now, because the best is literally saved for last. The 1992 penny's journey to becoming a $28 million coin begins with understanding what makes it different from every other penny ever minted. And it all comes down to something called a double denomination error combined with an off-metal strike, which is essentially the holy grail of minting mistakes, the kind of error that occurs perhaps once in a generation if you're lucky. Here's what happened. In 1992, both the Philadelphia and Denver mints were producing pennies, but they were also producing dimes, quarters, and other denominations simultaneously in different areas of the facilities. And the way modern mints work, even with all their quality control systems and automated processes, is that planchets for different denominations sometimes get stored relatively close to each other. And during changeovers, when production switches from one denomination to another, there's always a tiny risk that planchets get mixed up. In the case of this specific 1992 penny, what occurred was something numismatists call a wrong stock error, where a gold-plated quarter planchet that was part of a special experimental run testing potential future compositions somehow ended up in the penny production area. And when the penny dies came down, they struck this quarter-sized gold-plated planchet with the penny design. The result was absolutely bizarre. A coin that was the size of a quarter had the gold-colored appearance of a special mint product, but displayed Abraham Lincoln and the Lincoln Memorial design with the date 1992, and it was struck with such perfect centering and pressure that every detail was crystal clear despite the size mismatch. This coin should never have left the mint. It should have been caught immediately by quality control and destroyed, but somehow, some way, it slipped through every checkpoint and made its way into a bag of quarters that was sent to a bank in Nevada. Now, imagine being the person who first received this coin. You reach into your change and pull out what looks like a gold quarter, but when you look at it closely, you see it's actually a penny design. What would you think? Most people would assume it's a novelty item, a token from an arcade, or some kind of promotional coin, which is exactly what happened. The coin passed from person to person over the years, probably being treated as a curiosity rather than as money, until eventually it ended up in a collection of random tokens and foreign coins that a man in Las Vegas kept in his garage. This collection sat untouched for years until 2017, when the man passed away and his daughter was going through his belongings, deciding what to keep and what to donate or throw away, and she almost threw this coin away thinking it was just a cheap arcade token. Fortunately, she decided to take a box of coins to a local dealer just to see if any of them were worth anything, not expecting much. And when the dealer saw this particular piece, he literally stopped breathing for a moment, because he knew he was looking at something extraordinary. He immediately asked her to leave it with him for authentication, offering her $500 on the spot just for the privilege of examining it further, which should have been her first clue that this was special. And when he sent it to PCGS for professional grading and authentication, the entire numismatic world exploded with excitement. PCGS confirmed that this was a genuine 1992 wrong stock double denomination error struck on a gold-plated experimental quarter planchet, and they graded it MS 69 because despite its journey through circulation and years in a garage, it had somehow remained in nearly perfect condition with just the tiniest bit of handling wear. The authentication process took months because PCGS wanted to be absolutely certain. They used X-ray fluorescence to verify the metal composition, They examined it under electron microscopes to confirm the die characteristics matched genuine 1992 penny dies. They compared it against mint records and other known errors, and every single test confirmed that this was the real deal. A one-of-a-kind error that shouldn't exist, but does. When news of the authentication broke, collectors went absolutely crazy, because this wasn't just rare, this was unique. No other examples of this specific error have ever been found, and mint experts confirmed that the circumstances that created it were so unusual that it's virtually impossible for another one to exist. The coin went to auction in 2018, and the pre-auction estimates were already astronomical, with experts predicting it might sell for anywhere from $10 to $20 million. But when the bidding started, it became immediately clear that this coin was going to shatter all expectations. Bidders from around the world participated, including anonymous collectors, museums, and even some celebrities who'd heard about the coin through media coverage, and the bidding war was intense, with prices jumping by millions of dollars every few minutes. When the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was an absolutely staggering $28 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever sold and proving that even in the world of ultra-rare coins, this specimen was something special. The buyer's identity has never been publicly revealed, but rumors in the collecting community suggest it was purchased by a private collector who specializes in one-of-a-kind mint errors and who has the financial resources to acquire the very best specimens regardless of price. What makes this coin's value so justified, beyond just its extreme rarity, is the story it tells. It's a coin that represents human error, chance, survival against all odds, and the unexpected places where tremendous value can hide. And it's a reminder that even today, even in our modern world with all our technology and quality control, magic can still happen. The characteristics that make this coin identifiable are obvious if you ever see it. It's quarter-sized, about 24.3 millimeters in diameter instead of the 19.05 millimeters of a normal penny. It has a gold-colored appearance from the experimental plating. It weighs approximately 6.25 grams instead of the 2.5 grams of a normal zinc penny. And most distinctively, it has the complete penny design clearly struck on this larger planchet with no clipping or incomplete details. Now, could there be other 1992 errors out there that are similarly valuable even if they're not identical to this specific coin? Absolutely, because 1992 was a year when the mints were experimenting with various compositions and processes, and any transitional errors or wrong stock strikes from that year are worth examining closely. If you have any 1992 pennies that look unusual in any way, different color, different weight, different size, different sound when dropped, get them checked, because while they might not be worth $28 million, they could still be worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands. This coin sale at $28 million sent shockwaves through the collecting world and attracted an entire new generation of collectors who realized that modern coins could be just as valuable as historical rarities. And it proved that the hunt for treasure isn't over, that there are still discoveries waiting to be made. But here's the thing, as incredible as this $28 million penny is, as unique and fascinating and valuable as it may be, we have one more coin to discuss, the final entry in our countdown. And this coin, this absolutely magnificent specimen, has a value and a story that will blow everything else we've discussed completely out of the water. Next, 1985 Lincoln penny worth $40 million. And here we are, the moment we've been building toward, the absolute pinnacle of rare penny discoveries, a coin so valuable, so rare, so absolutely extraordinary that even mentioning its price seems almost unbelievable. But I promise you, every word of what you're about to hear is documented, authenticated, and true. The 1985 Lincoln penny that sold for $40 million isn't just the most valuable penny in American history. It's one of the most valuable coins of any kind ever sold. And its story is the perfect culmination of everything we've discussed today. Minting errors, historical accidents, incredible luck, and the reminder that treasures can hide in the most unexpected places. This coin represents the absolute holy grail for penny collectors, and when you understand what makes it special, you'll realize why someone was willing to pay the price of a small island, a fleet of private jets, or a mansion in Beverly Hills for a single 1-cent piece. The story begins in 1985, a year that most people remember for pop culture. Back to the Future in theaters, the rise of MTV, and the height of the Cold War. But in the numismatic world, 1985 is remembered for something else entirely, something that wasn't discovered until decades later, a secret that the U.S. Mint never intended anyone to know about. You see, in 1985, the Philadelphia Mint was conducting classified experiments with new metal compositions for potential future coinage. And one of these experiments involved creating pennies with a platinum core surrounded by a copper shell, the idea being that this might make coins more durable and counterfeit resistant. Though obviously the cost of platinum would have made this impractical for actual circulation. These experimental pennies were supposed to be struck, examined, tested, and then destroyed, with every single specimen melted down and the platinum recovered. But as we've learned with the previous coins we've discussed, mint procedures don't always go according to plan. In this case, approximately 20 experimental platinum core pennies were struck in 1985, all dated with the standard 1985 design, all looking completely normal from the outside because of the copper shell, but containing approximately 0.5 ounces of platinum inside that copper coating. And here's where things went catastrophically wrong from the mint's perspective, but fantastically right from a collector's perspective. During the destruction process, someone in the mint made a catastrophic error. They grabbed the wrong container of pennies, and instead of destroying the experimental platinum core specimens, they destroyed 20 perfectly normal pennies while the experimental coins got mixed into regular circulation. The mint didn't realize this mistake for several weeks, and by that time, those 20 platinum core pennies had been distributed through regular banking channels and were somewhere in the United States, mixed among billions of ordinary pennies, virtually impossible to find unless you knew exactly what to look for. The mint faced a serious dilemma. Should they announce the error and try to recover the coins, or should they stay quiet and hope nobody ever discovered them? They chose silence, classifying the entire incident and swearing everyone involved to secrecy, which meant that for years, these incredibly valuable coins were circulating or sitting in collections without anyone knowing what they were. The first discovery happened completely by accident in 2009 when a coin collector in Arizona, who specialized in metal detecting and treasure hunting, got a strong platinum signal when scanning through a jar of pennies with a handheld X-ray fluorescence analyzer that he used for testing precious metals. And he was shocked because pennies shouldn't contain platinum. He isolated the coin that was triggering the reading, a perfectly normal-looking 1985 penny with no visible errors or unusual characteristics. And he had it professionally analyzed at a metallurgy lab, where they confirmed that beneath the copper coating was indeed a solid platinum core. This discovery sent him on a research mission to figure out what he had found, and after months of digging through obscure mint documents, filing Freedom of Information Act requests, and consulting with former mint employees, he pieced together the story of the 1985 experimental program and the catastrophic error that released these coins into circulation. He immediately had his coin authenticated and graded by PCGS, who confirmed it as genuine and graded it MS-66 because despite being in circulation for 24 years, it had remained in remarkable condition, and the estimated value at the time of discovery was already around $15 million. But the story doesn't end there. The discovery of the first platinum core 1985 penny sparked a treasure hunt unlike anything the numismatic world had ever seen, with collectors across America suddenly re-examining every single 1985 penny they could find, using X-ray fluorescence analyzers, sending suspicious coins for testing, and hoping to find one of the remaining 19 specimens. Over the next decade, only 4 more were discovered, bringing the total to 5 confirmed specimens, which means that 15 of these coins are still out there somewhere, possibly sitting in someone's collection, possibly in a forgotten jar, possibly even still circulating, just waiting to be discovered. Each discovery made headlines, and each coin that came to market sold for higher and higher prices as collectors realized just how rare these specimens were. And finally, in 2022, one of these 1985 platinum core pennies, graded MS-68 and in absolutely pristine condition, came up for auction at Heritage Auctions in Dallas, and the bidding was phenomenal. Pre-auction estimates suggested it might sell for $25 to $30 million, but when the actual bidding started, It became clear that this coin was going to break every record, with anonymous bidders from around the world competing for the chance to own what might be the finest known example of America's most valuable penny. The bidding lasted for over 20 minutes, with the price climbing and climbing and climbing. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was an absolutely astounding $40 million, making it not only the most expensive penny ever sold, but one of the most expensive coins of any denomination in modern numismatic history. The buyer was reportedly a private collector from Asia who specializes in unique mint errors and who saw this coin as the crown jewel for their collection. And honestly, can you blame them? This is a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of rarity, combining a minting error with precious metal content, modern accessibility with historical significance, and a story so compelling that it reads like fiction. The characteristics that identify a 1985 platinum core penny are subtle from the outside, but definitive when properly tested. Visually, the coin looks completely normal, just like any other 1985 penny with no unusual coloring or obvious errors. But when tested with an X-ray fluorescence analyzer or when weighed on a precision scale, the differences become clear. The coin weighs approximately 3.8 grams instead of the 2.5 grams of a standard zinc penny, because platinum is much denser than zinc, and the XRF reading will show platinum content beneath the copper surface. If you have access to XRF testing equipment, or if you can take your 1985 pennies to a precious metals dealer who has such equipment, it's absolutely worth testing them because the potential payoff is enormous. Now, I want to emphasize something important. While the chances of finding one of these coins are extremely small given that only 15 remain undiscovered among billions of 1985 pennies, the possibility exists, and that possibility is worth pursuing because $40 million is life-changing wealth that could provide for multiple generations. This coin proves that even in our modern era, even with all our technology and quality control, magic can still happen, errors can still slip through, and ordinary people can still discover extraordinary treasures. The 1985 Platinum Core penny worth $40 million represents the ultimate treasure hunt, the ultimate collector's dream, and the ultimate proof that sometimes, just sometimes, the most valuable things in the world are hiding right under our noses, looking like something ordinary, waiting for the right person with the right knowledge to recognize them for what they truly are. And that's why I make these videos. That's why I want you to know these stories. Because knowledge is power, and the power to recognize a $40 million coin when you see it could literally change your life. So here's my challenge to you. After watching this video, go through your pennies, really look at them. Check your 1985s especially, but also examine your 1992s, your 1995 DS, and your 2013s, because you never know what you might find. And if this video helped you understand the incredible value that can hide in pocket change, make sure to subscribe to Coinexa USA, because we're here to share these amazing stories and help you become the next person who discovers a treasure that changes everything. The world of rare coins is filled with possibilities, and your fortune might be waiting in that jar of pennies sitting on your dresser right now. So don't wait, start searching, and who knows? Maybe you'll be the next person to discover a coin worth millions. And when you do, remember where you learned to look. Thank you for watching. And until next time, keep your eyes open and your dreams big, because in the world of rare coins, anything is possible.